Original post, May 31, 2024. This is a throwaway because too much identifying info is on my main. I, 29 female, met my boyfriend Michael, 35 male, at a show I performed in. I am a theater person as a hobby, and he complimented my performance and bought me a drink. We have been together now for a little over a year. His sister got married last week and I was initially pleased to be asked to be a bridesmaid but also a bit surprised as she barely knows me, but I thought this was an attempt to have an excuse to also get to know each other better. Michael and I got into an argument the week before because he said that he wanted to entertain the thought of spicing up our sex life and having a threesome. He said since I was bi, so why not? I didn't like the idea too much and said so, and it devolved into a petty Cold War, and he started to ignore my messages after he left my place. He didn't reply to me at all until the day before the wedding asking what time he needed to pick me up since we can't go separate, otherwise people will gossip about us. He barely said anything to me the whole time we traveled to the venue. The wedding was fine, but at the reception, he got me a plate and leaned in to kiss me, but I shied away and he got up to mingle. I started feeling ill not too long after and 911 was called. I realized I was having an allergic reaction and had my pen, but still had to be carted off by the ambulance, and that's when someone who was looking for Michael said that he had left with some of the other groomsmen to a bar nearby. I called 6 times and texted that it was an emergency as I was getting checked out by the paramedics, and again when they strongly suggested I go to the hospital, but he never replied. I was released by the hospital and called him to ask him to pick me up, but he didn't pick up, so I woke up my best friend and she took me home and stayed with me overnight to make sure I was okay. The next morning Michael called me but I was still asleep, so he left me a lengthy voicemail yelling at me that I ruined his sister's wedding, and that I always have to make things about me. He came over to further berate me and told me he should just break up with me at this point as I am dramatic and this is all too much, so I pointed out that he had gotten my plate, knew full well that I have a legit allergy to coconut, and that his sister had told me afterward that he knew that the cake he gave me was the coconut cream cake as all the food had signs saying what it was and what the ingredients were, as I am not the only person with allergies that attended. He left telling me that he can't talk to me when I am this way. I was honestly exhausted, so I didn't bother going after him. But his father called me to ask how I was doing, and after I answered he then told me how I am hurting Michael's heart by blaming him, and Michael has been inconsolable since we fought. I texted Michael to ask if we could talk, but the conversation went back around somehow to the threesome and how I don't respect him even in intimate settings or want to hear him out regarding his needs and make things about me. I am so confused because to me this feels manipulative, but I respect his father so much. I go to their church and he is a pastor there, so to have him tell me I am in the wrong threw me. Am I the asshole? Edit. A lot of comments are suggesting that this was intentional, and I have actually never considered he gave me something I am allergic to on purpose, and certainly not to use against me to leverage in our argument. But I think I may have to come clean and talk to his parents. I know them well, so hopefully it won't go too badly. Small update. Michael texted me this morning to apologize. He said the wedding was stressing him out and he had a lot on his mind, so he accidentally handed me the plate he meant for himself, not the one for me. He said he didn't know I was in the hospital and feels bad he wasn't there for me, but he left the reception with some of the groomsmen to blow off much needed steam. I don't know how I feel about it all, so I just replied okay. He is now asking to come over and talk this out in person. Relevant comments. Comment 1. Be honest, have you, now that you are looking back, seen red flags like this? This behavior likely didn't just show up. Have you ever gotten ill after a disagreement with him? OP. Oddly enough, I am sitting with my BFF, and she asked me the same question, and yes, actually. Our first real argument that I can remember, I was down with a stomach bug for almost a week and he visited me and made soup. Then the only big argument I can recall outside this one, he wanted to use labels really soon onto us going on some dates and I didn't, and the next morning, I was sick with chest pains and stomach cramps. I don't want to sound dramatic or accusatory, but since people have commented he might have purposefully given me something I am allergic to, I just don't know anymore. Comment 2. Not the asshole, the two of you are completely incompatible. He wants threesomes, you want to attend wedding receptions without leaving in an ambulance. OP. Okay, when I read this, I was with Bestie and we've been drinking and I started laughing so hard it nearly killed me, more effectively than the coconut LMAO. Update 1, June 1, 2024. Well, many of you are right, I should not have met him in person, but I did. He took me out to lunch insisting he pay for it all, and it was incredibly over the top. He had flowers and a written letter of apology, but as some of you messaged me, his apologies dodged the point by way of if I hurt you, or that you're feeling X or Y feeling. He quoted some scriptures and said he has repented as his carelessness caused me harm. I wasn't much moved by any of it until he said how much his family loves me and how much our church roots for us as a couple, and I kind of sat back and realized that one flimsy reason I was even entertaining forgiving him and staying was because of the pressure I dealt with as the girlfriend of a pastor's son. It occurred to me that there were so many times I let things slide because he is the heir apparent, so he had the power in the social aspect of our community. Sorry, I know I am rambling, but I'm emotional and tipsy. I remember just staring at him and saying it was incredibly alarming that by now he can't be aware of my allergy and that he didn't bother to tell his own girlfriend he was stepping out with the guys, or even that he was stepping out of his own sister's wedding at all. He then said it was really actually kind of stupid of me to eat a cake that had coconut and implied I am an idiot for not realizing what I had was coconut. I realized then he would never accept that he was in the wrong and thus there was no point. I stood up and smiled and said, "You know what, don't worry about it. Thanks for dinner. Good night." To which he replied that if I wasn't going to grow up and accept his apology, I am a waste of his time. He uses that a lot whenever we disagree, and it usually hurts me deeply, but this time it was like a Rolodex of memories flooded my brain, and I really suspect he's been deliberately making me sick whenever we disagree to teach me a lesson. I said I was done, and he needn't waste his time with me from this point on, and left. I then sent screenshots to his father explaining the situation as best I can without blaming Michael for prior illnesses without proof, and I got a text about 20 minutes ago from his father. His father is incredibly disappointed in my immaturity and hurt that I wouldn't even give it until Sunday at church where we can pray together, talk it out and heal. I felt this way for a while, but I was able to say at this time that using religion as a tool of guilt is low, and I am no longer concerned with his version of God, as that version is a judgmental, cruel, and heartless jerk, while the one I always thought of was loving, compassionate, and kind, and I am done. I was told by him and by further emails rolling in that I am no longer welcome at my church until I reconcile with my true husband and learn compassion and respect for my leaders. So, I guess that's it. I will enjoy sleeping in tomorrow and eating coconut-free food while lazing about my home rather than going to 3 separate church services starting at 8 a.m. and then figure it all out from there. I don't know how to sign off, but I do watch a concerning amount of Charlotte Daubra videos, and she usually ends things with practical stuff like do your laundry or something, so I will just say, live for yourself, feed your soul, and know you are enough. I certainly am going to put in the work to get there, and I hope we all make it to the other side contented, and filled with love and joy. And by the way, F you Michael. I know you are reading this. I know you know it's me. And I hope your socks are always just a little soggy. Relevant comments. Comment 1. Holy crap. And you stayed with him. You poor girl. No one deserves someone like that in their life. But you didn't say if you told his dad about him sending you to the hospital and potentially killing you. Because we both know and the rest of Reddit knows that he did that intentionally. And if there was proof of him giving you that cake, you could probably send his happy ass to jail. OP. I didn't and don't have the best self-esteem. And here is the only black woman in the town that I've known of. I've always known that I am considered less desirable, not saying that's right, but just knowing where I live. Been here since my preteen years. When Michael asked me out, it was like a parade. Everyone acted like it was a Cinderella story and I won a lottery or something. I have a friend who I have been texting today and she is letting me know how dumb I've been. I never told her of our issues, and is about ready to commit crimes LOL. I think I lost myself for a bit, but I wanted to leave the church for a while because of my treatment, so that helps a bit. Story 2, I think my friend's girlfriend is abusive. Original post, December 2, 2022. I have a friend Mark who I've known for about 5 or 6 years now. We are pretty close, chat often, and work in the same building. About a year or so ago, he met Laura on a dating app. They talked for a while through text because they were unable to meet up in person for a bit due to some reasons. During their talking stage before meeting up, I would ask Mark about Laura often and he would just say things were going good and that she was great. He always had a lot to say about her. One day he shared with me that he was afraid about Laura's reaction to his physical appearance because she hadn't asked his height like most girls did, and he didn't want to have her ghost him when she found out. For reference, Mark is around 5'6" or 5'7". He said that in her photos, Laura looked tall, and he was anxious that she would leave him over the height difference. I calmed him down and made a joke about how he would always have me to make him feel bigger or taller and I would be here if he wanted to make a girl feel tiny. Fast forward a few weeks, and I see he posted a photo with Laura on his Instagram. They were at some fancy restaurant somewhere and I texted him to ask how his date went, but he didn't reply until the next morning to say it was good. I asked about the height thing, and he said it was fine, so I said I was glad. I met Laura about 2 months or so ago at a friend's birthday party that Mark was at. When I saw her, I was a little put off because she was a bit taller than Mark, maybe 5'8" or 5'9" if I had to guess, and was wearing shoes with a bit of a heel so he looked extra short next to her. This annoyed me a bit, as Mark was anxious about the height difference, and she just wore heels to tower over him anyway. I thought that was rather rude. Ever since, I've noticed some things about her that I believe are red flags, but I don't know how to tell Mark. 1. She seems too controlling. One time I asked Mark to come to a mutual friend's dinner party with me, let's call her Clara. Mark said he didn't want to go because Clara had made an offensive comment towards Laura and Laura didn't like Clara anymore. This seems weird to me, and I think Mark can pick who he likes and doesn't like for himself. Also, the comment was not that bad, and I don't think Clara meant to be offensive. 2. Mark has become secretive now that he's dating her, and it makes me think that there is something he's too scared to tell me. I ask about how things are going and he's very dismissive. I once made a joke to him, and he got very weird and short with me and didn't talk to me for a few days, which had never happened before. 3. Mark has changed his appearance to match Laura's likes. For example, he's never had facial hair, ever. And now does. He had a full beard for a while and now he just has a mustache. I asked him about it once because I thought the mustache made him look creepy and he said Laura really liked his facial hair and thought it was hot, and he again got short with me. I think it's weird to change yourself to match someone's expectations. Isn't that like a sign of abuse? 4. Mark does anything that Laura says pretty much all the time. Mark used to hate superhero movies and we used to make fun of them, and now he's always going to watch the new Marvel movies with Laura because she's obsessed with all things Marvel. I know for a fact he doesn't like superhero movies and he's just doing it because she says so. I don't think this is right. There have been a few other small random issues that I have noticed, but I don't want to make this too long. So, how can I bring this up to Mark? Where do I start? How do you let someone know they're being abused? I know he will deny it, so I'm looking for advice on how to approach this. Relevant comments. Comment 1. Are you sure you don't just have a crush on him or something? Telling him you'd be there for him to make him feel taller seems strange, more like an awkward attempt at flirting and discouraging him from going for other women, and this is coming from someone who kisses and actively flirts with her friends. Also, so what if she wore heels on her date with him? Just because he feels short, she can't wear shoes she likes? Did he ever complain about it and tell you he felt emasculated, or are you just assuming he did because he worried about height before? If it was that big of a deal, he should have ripped off the insecure band-aid and asked her not to before the date. That way she'd know he was childish. By the way, there are plenty of men who don't care or even actually find that they like taller women. And there are tons of tall women who get rejected for being tall or masculine. If Laura is really tall and was still secure enough in herself to wear heels on a date, that's a wonderful thing. Women shouldn't be expected to make themselves smaller so that weak men feel more powerful. As for your other complaints. 1. What did Clara say? I don't think you can decide what Laura has the right to be offended by. And for that matter, I don't think you can decide that Mark didn't also find Clara's remark distasteful, or that Mark should throw his girlfriend under the bus to attend a dinner party with you. If Clara was truly rude to Laura, he should stand with his girlfriend. Even if that puts him at odds with a friend. 2. What was the joke you made? Did you insult him or his girlfriend? Do you think perhaps you might have been prying too much into his relationship and it annoyed him? 3. While changing to match someone's preferences can be a sign of abuse, it can also be totally innocent. I offhandedly said I liked long hair once and my ex still hasn't cut it even though we've been done for a while. I would have been fine with whatever style he went for because it was him, but he chose to do that because he wanted to do something for me, and bonus, he ended up liking it. The same can be said for the movies. He might hate them, but sometimes doing something you don't like with someone you love can turn you around on it, or at least make it bearable. He might just find it fun to watch her have fun. Has he complained to you? It feels like at best you don't trust Mark to make his own decisions and have his own relationship, and at worst, you are trying to actively impede his love life because you have unresolved feelings towards him and see Laura as an obstacle. Added to add. For complaint 2 also, are you sure he wasn't short with you because you said he looked creepy after he changed his appearance a little? That's a rude thing to say when someone is trying out a new look. Telling someone they look like a pervert is a great way to make them upset at you. In case this is your first day on Earth. OP. I don't have a crush on Mark, no. I've known him a long time. If I did like him, we would have been dating years ago. I just thought it was insensitive that she wore heels when he was worried she would reject or ghost him due to their height difference. It seemed dismissive of his feelings. Clara made a joke about Laura when Mark introduced them. Laura is Mexican, but you wouldn't know that by looking at her. She's pale and has blue eyes. Apparently, Clara asked her where she was from, and when Laura told her she was Mexican, Clara said she knew there was something else there because of Laura's nose. I'm pretty sure she was joking and trying to lighten the mood, but Laura got mad at it and other similar jokes that Clara made to Mark after that. I did not insult anyone in my joke. I brought up their height difference to ask if he was feeling better about it, and he said yes. I said that was good and jokingly commented how if he ever missed throwing women around the bedroom or feeling bigger than them, I would volunteer. Looking back, this was tasteless, but we make a lot of sex jokes usually, so I thought it would just lighten the mood. But he just told me not to worry and that he's never had a problem with that in a very rude way, so I dropped it because I could sense he was uncomfortable. He has never complained, but I feel like that's a sign of the abuse. He might be too scared to come forward. Update 1, February 18, 2023. My friend Mark recently got married to Laura. I put that in quotes because they didn't have a wedding, just went to the courthouse and threw a small gathering that I attended. Ever since, I've been trying to get to know Laura more because I thought maybe I had a lapse in judgment since Mark seems to love her. However, something that happened on Wednesday changed my mind. We were at Mark and Laura's new place for the first time. They were having a bonfire. It was me, them, and 4 other friends. The whole time I was trying to talk to Mark, Laura was sitting right next to him, making it impossible. I also noticed that Laura is kind of mean to Mark. She would say something in a very serious tone that sounded mean and rude, and Mark would just laugh. When they noticed me not laughing and looking disturbed, they said that she was clearly joking, and Mark said she has a very deadpan delivery when telling jokes, and it took him a while to pick up on it too, but I just think she's a bully. Later on in the night they were cuddling with a blanket around them, which was annoying, and Laura said something to Mark that caused Mark to reply, "Oh, that's so mean," and it just about broke my heart. He sounded so cute and hurt when he said it that I had to say something and told Laura in front of everyone that she was a bad girlfriend, and she didn't deserve Mark. She didn't react at all, which was super freaky, but Mark looked extremely angry, which shocked me as he's never been angry at me. He told me to get out and said that he was trying to give me a chance because I kept doing this. I don't know what he meant. I got up to leave but told him that he was an idiot who couldn't see that he was being abused because he was too busy thinking with his dick, which made no sense considering Laura was ugly as crap. She laughed at this, which freaked me out even more, and I left. Now all my friends are shutting me out and they're even posting photos with Laura and talking about how great she is. Am I the asshole? All I did was tell the truth. Relevant comments. Comment 1. Laura sitting next to her husband annoyed her, them cuddling annoyed her. He sounded so cute and hurt, definitely a big chance of unrequited feelings going on here. OP sounds very jealous. Also, FYI for OP, courthouse weddings are just as legal as church ones. She is his wife. I don't know what you mean by saying married as if it's some sham fake marriage. Definitely, you're the asshole. OP. He isn't happy though, that's the point. He's changed so much, and I feel like I'm the only person who sees it. Comment 2. You're the asshole. OP, seriously. Leave them alone now. OP. I am not in love with him, I am worried about him. So OP thinks her friend is being abused, because he grew some facial hair, cuddles with his wife, and let his wife wear heels? Also, people with a dry sense of humor exist. Does she think anything more than a knock-knock joke is abuse? And when she insults his appearance, and he gets a bit short with her, she doesn't think it's anything she said. Anyway, I hope Mark and Laura get some peace and quiet. That's it for this video. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.